Pedophiles, no. Prince Andrew, same thing. What? Allegedly. Acting like they weren't out there colonizing too? Absolutely not. Siren-esque, like, look how stunning and beautiful I am. Bah, I'm gonna kill you. I can't wait to read the comments about how I should go home after this video. I'm gonna get so cancelled for this video. Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. If you're new around here, I'm Yvette. I moved to the UK 3 years ago and I'm documenting my experiences as a travel and lifestyle vlogger. Thank you to everyone who's been messaging me thoughts and prayers. It's obviously been an incredibly hard month, some of which you guys know about, some of which you don't. One day I think I'll go through it and I'll explain everything, but for now I just want to say I hear you and I appreciate you. I also managed to get my hair done yesterday, as you can see, so I thought best film a video while I document the best my hair will look for the foreseeable. So for today's video I thought I did a best things in the UK A to Z, so I thought I should do the alternative. If you haven't seen the best of, watch that one first, because otherwise this one's going to look very negative. I promise it's not. Obviously I can make this video about any country, everywhere's got ups and downs, but I thought it's important to show both sides, not misrepresent. If it means anything to those who are about to tell me to go home and move back to my country, I found this list a lot harder to make than the other one, so I think that bodes well. And there are maybe one or two gaps, so you have to forgive me. The worst British things from A to Z. A, some of these are very niche. A is ambulance wait times. I think ambulances are probably the thing that should have the 0 wait time because no one calls an ambulance no reason. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like ambulances are like, if you need to rely on one thing, it's an ambulance. I know I've had, and to be fair, Australia is not good in this either. Some of these are not unique to Australia, to the UK or Australia. I have had a friend who's called an ambulance and it was, I think, a 6-hour wait time for the ambulance, and if you're having a heart attack, like, that's a death wish. So I don't know how to fix it. I'm not a politician. I don't work for the NHS, but I'm just saying I've noticed an issue and we should address it at some point. Ambulance wait times. The worst British thing, starting with B, is Brexit. Now, don't come for me. Brexit is what it is. I get it. I think it was obviously quite polarizing. What I want to say is that I think we can all agree that the Brexit that has occurred was not the one that was voted for or promised at the least. And then there was obviously a lot of people that didn't vote for it at all. So I'd say mostly we're all unhappy, right? What prompted me to put it in this list was actually the economy. I looked at a study and it said basically like France, Germany, Austria I think it was, are all growing, their economies are growing like between 1.3 to 1.7 depending percent, and we're like at we're at 0.5. So like the UK is clearly dragging behind. It's gonna be the worst out of like the G20 countries, and it's largely due to the Brexit leaving the open market, blah blah blah. So that's why it's on there. Completely numerical. I understand there was a lot more to it, although in a way it kind of plays into my first one because that bus said all that money. If we had that money, it could get ambulance wait times down. So worst British thing, starting with C, is the class system. So the class system's a little bit like the caste system in India, and the UK has very negative social mobility. So going from like working class to the elite is like kind of impossible. Like if you're a proper working class Cockney person and you want to go and like be a debutante in like an aristocracy, can't even say the word, party, that would just really be incredibly rare. I'm sure it's happened, never say never, but like, you're an anomaly. The idea of being stuck anywhere is never nice. I hate being told what to do. I like to do what I want, and if I want to do things that the upper class do, I want to do them, and if I want to do things lower class do, I want to do them, so I don't like being stuck in a category, regardless of which one it is, so negative. The worst British thing, starting with D, is the Daily Mail. I hate them. The Mirror, Daily Mail, they're just so exploitative, hyperbolic, exaggerative. They just feed off the worst impulses of society to get clicks and make money. And unfortunately, I'm like Daily Mail and the Mirror, Sky, probably something else, are all owned by Murdoch, which is like who owns Fox News, and he's Australian, so like technically he's my mate, and I don't love that. So our worst export by far. But yeah, I'm very aware of our negative impact. But yeah, just, you know, ripping apart women's bodies or people's mental health. I think they were quite heavily I'm putting Daily Mail. It's really, realistically, it's tabloids, but I'm just putting Daily Mail in. So many, like Caroline Flack, like, who killed herself because of the tabloids. Like, they are trash. Don't read them. Worst British thing starting with E is European hate. So what I mean by that is the hate British people get when you travel. It depends what country you're going to, obviously. And my accent changes, as you will probably notice when you're watching my videos. I like to think I've got a bit of a transatlantic accent, but it's like trans-Pacific. I don't know, the Australian side. There's a lot of countries in between. So my accent is quite ambiguous when I travel, so they don't know if I'm Australian, if I'm New Zealand, South African, Northern, Irish. I get Irish a lot, bizarrely. So depending on the country I'm in, I'll choose where I'm from. So if I'm somewhere that doesn't like the UK, I'm good day, how you doing, what's going on. But if I'm somewhere that, you know, currently, weirdly, France doesn't like Australia at the moment, and they do like England, or they like the UK because it's Eurovision, famously, they gave us 12 points, so relations were better there. So when I was in France recently, I was, you know, top of the morning to you. I don't know. Cheerio. I don't know what British people say. Things like that. So yeah, I don't feel it's founded, to be honest. I think it's a negative thing, because I think the British Empire got a lot of flack for being bad, which of course there is a lot of skeletons in that closet. But most of mainland Europe was doing the same thing. They're just mad that England won. Like, I understand, like, if you're a country that was colonized, having ill will. Who am I? You have your history, fair. But like, Belgium, the Netherlands, France, acting like they weren't out there colonizing too? Absolutely not. Won't be having it. Worst thing starting with F is football lad culture. So it's not football, because I like football and I got really into the Euros, so like, that was cool. But what I don't like is like, and I've seen it in other things, but it's also quite football lad culture, is like when your team wins or loses, doesn't even matter, they just go out and trash things. Hate that. Does my head in. So disrespectful and unnecessary. Specifically when they win, I'm like, well, how are we ever going to avoid this? It's almost like you just wanted an excuse to break things. Worst British thing starting with G is the current government. I am not happy with the government. I would like to think you guys aren't either. I think throwing parties was disgraceful. I know I don't even have that much critique about necessarily the COVID response. I know, like, it's so nuanced of like coulda, shoulda, woulda, looking at other countries, etc. Like, I think there's enough grey area for that, you know? What I don't love is all the sexual assault cases not getting punished, and I don't love all the parties they were throwing when people couldn't say goodbye to their loved ones. People's loved ones died alone, hooked up to machines, and they were getting drunk, and that hurts me to my soul. I can't imagine having to do that as the person dying, or having to watch someone you love go through that, and then knowing that they were drinking like moe, like, and just like spraying it on the walls, because that's how I imagine that parties are. Yeah, it's just so disrespectful to and also the people that were working, or the nurses and I can't. Mostly the parties, and then inflation, the cost of living crisis. There is much critique to be had, but mostly it's the parties. Leading on from that, worst British thing, starting with H, is House of Lords. And so what I put this in is because, unless I'm misunderstanding, which absolutely could be, and you're gonna tell me I'm an idiot in the comments, fine. House of Lords are just appointed till death, basically, and then it inherits down and they have to agree, so there's no like voting on that. Like, you get to vote for your MP and your representative, and then you've got the monarchy that's obviously like inherited, and then you've got these lords that kind of just like slip by and have like very cushy lives. You know, the royal family, whether you're a royalist or not, I'm not here to debate that, but I personally would not choose to be a royal if I had the choice. I think it seems like a miserable existence, like having to curate your entire life to be for someone else. I think that would be awful, and not having any freedom. So like, I think there is a level of sacrifice to be a royal, to be under that level of scrutiny and not have any freedom. And obviously politicians, like ministers, are choosing that. But lords just get to like rock up for 10 days a year and then get paid like exorbitant amount of money, and they don't have to worry about getting elected. Just seems like a massive flaw in the system to me, that you can't, like, if someone there gets drunk on power, you can't do anything to stop them. Don't love that. There's currently 768, and then it just seems to be that like the current Prime Minister just like makes people lords at the end, like his mates, like it just seems very political. I know it is, it's literally politics, but you know what I mean. Just seems like a boys club. You know, who you went to school with and who you're friends with determines like if you get this really cushy job. Don't love it. Worst British thing at the moment, starting with I, is inflation. I think we can all agree we're all hurting. It's like they're predicting it to be 12%. I did a Bachelor of Commerce majoring in marketing and management, so I'm well versed in what inflation is and what that means, and it's not great. Basically, everyone's gonna earn, it's gonna be like 20% down versus pre-pandemic. And that's such a big gap for anyone. I can't imagine like people who have kids. I can't imagine having kids in this situation. So inflation, absolute problem. Raise the tax bracket on the wealthy. Because there's this thing, fun economics lesson. If you give £1,000 to someone who's working class or poorer, it will actually stimulate the economy more than if you give it to an upper class person, because the person who's on the lower class will spend it because they need to, versus someone who is already in abundance of wealth will put it into stocks, which don't stimulate the economy half as much as spending does. So this is probably the most controversial one after I've talked about government and Brexit. The worst British thing, starting with J, is James Bond. Now, he's not that bad. I don't necessarily hate James Bond. I've just never been into James Bond, and it's like when you do pub trivia and it's like, you know, there's categories like music, sport, movies, pop culture, science, all that stuff. My one is always movies, and I know a lot about movies. And there's always questions about James Bond, and I never know them because I've never gotten into it. I don't know why. It's just I've never been a James Bond girl, and it seems to be such a big part of British culture that the one thing I can't relate to. So James Bond, unfortunately. In the same list, worst British thing, starting with K, is kettle noise, which is the most mundane thing compared to me kicking off about the political system here. I just hate the kettle noise. I have literally spent so much time and money going out and buying like a quiet kettle. Tell me in the comments if you have a good kettle. It's okay now because our kitchen has a door in it, but when we lived in Highgate, I think that was like the thing that almost drove Daniel and I insane during the pandemic, was like him putting on a kettle and it just like echoing around the entire flat, and I couldn't escape it. It did the thing we probably fought about most. I was like, it's so loud. Worst British thing, starting with L, is London centricity. So, and this is for everyone outside London who watches me, basically London gets all the money, London gets all the attention, London gets all the excitement, which doesn't help people who don't live here. Also doesn't help the housing prices here. So while it's good if you're in the vicinity, it's not good for like the greater good of people, knowing that like London gets a lot of funding and activities and stuff. So, and also I know when you're abroad and you say, oh, I'm from the UK, they'll say you're from London, like it's the only thing they know, which would be infuriating if I imagine you're from Leeds and you're like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Is that a Leeds accent? No. Worst British thing, starting with M, is mortgages, the process, the banks. It takes so flippin' long to buy a house in this country. I'm aware that it's very much, you know, complaining about the silver spoon almost, because I have the option to buy a house. Buying a house here takes months. It normally takes 6 to 8 weeks in like America and Australia, because it just has like a cooling off period and then it's done. It literally took us, we viewed this house in January, and we closed on it we moved in April, which is like 4 months, and then almost to the day 4 months, which was quite fast because we were chain free. And then I've got a friend who's buying something in the Lakes, and they viewed it in April. Was it? It must have been April. And it still hasn't completed, and we're now in July. Like, they haven't even like had the bank hasn't even agreed. It's just taken years. So I'm like preparing myself for like because this isn't our forever home. This was just trying to get anything to get on the ladder. Trying to prepare myself when I do buy the forever home that I will be in a chain. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna manage trying to like get is it gonna take me a year to move? I can't handle it. Worst British thing, starting with N, is the NHS waiting list. Much like the ambulance times, it just takes a long time to get stuff done on the NHS, and it never used to. Yes, I had to go and get a pap smear. I don't care sharing. I think it's important. Raise awareness. Go get one if you need one. And I went to call my GP to book it in because I got my letter, and they were like, the waiting list is over 2 months, so we can't fit you in. Try and go to a sexual health clinic. So I went to the sexual health clinic, and they did it for me, which was fine. So I managed to get it done, and they did it in like a week. But it just kind of shows you like how long GP waiting lists and NHS is for like routine things. Ridiculous. Like 2 months is a long time. if there's a problem, you know? Worst British thing starting with O is obesity. Much like America and Australia and other like, you know, Western countries, has an obesity problem. And it's actually gone up, which doesn't surprise me because pandemic has like caused everyone to like stay home. So kind of don't blame anyone. It's like eat out to help out and sit at home and, you know, don't do anything and stimulate the economy by buying food. Help the hospitality industry. But yes, as of this year, 25% of Britons are obese, which is a huge percentage. And that's not overweight, that's just obese. It's another 15%. So it's, yeah, roughly 40% of Britons are overweight or obese, which is like not good for your health. So if you can, try not to be. So it's super helpful. It's like telling a depressed person to smile. But yes, I just think that I don't know how to fix it. Once again, I'm not a doctor, don't fix it, but like I love the UK and I love British people and I love my viewers and I want you all to have healthy, happy lives. So I don't like hearing that there is a chronic illness. So probably the least controversial one on my entire list. Worst British thing starting with P is paedophiles. No, Prince Andrew, same thing. What? Allegedly. Yeah, Prince Andrew is obviously not a nice man. Thought it was very suspicious that he got sick right before the Jubilee and didn't have to make an appearance. That he paid off the girl who was accusing him instead of going to court. Very suspicious. That, although I will thank him because his interview he did where he said he couldn't sweat and he went to a Pizza Express in Woking, like the man has ever even had a Pizza Express. Like, he's royal. He's probably had a chef prepare every meal he's ever had, like let alone go to a pizza. I got more upset about the fact that he was like insulting my intelligence by trying to trick me into thinking he'd been to a Pizza Express than any of the Nazi stuff. But yeah, hilarious interview. Man can't sweat but then could sweat again later in life, but just not then in that photo. Train wreck of an interview. Fantastic for the jokes. Fantastic for the memes. Love that. Hate him. Let's move on. Worst thing starting with Q is queues, and I put that one in because I don't mind. I do like that the British people queue. That is a good thing, but the bad thing is that they have a lot of patience, so queues are always really long. So people, what I would love is them just to give up and then I can queue and not have to wait as long. I realise that's a very selfish thought. I also realise queue is a really hard word to come up with, so we're going to choose that one and move on. Worst British thing starting with R. I was going to put real estate prices because it is terrible, but the reason I didn't do that is because Australia's really bad, America's bad, Canada's bad, basically anywhere that's like Western is bad. Vancouver's terrible. It's all terrible. So I was like, well, that's not really British, so I'll try and like make it more Brit-centric. And so I put Roadman. Roadmen are people that will, as far as I'm aware, which I might be wrong, but they're basically people that like hang out in like black joggers and black puffies, and then they pull a knife out and they ask you what the time is, and then they pull their knife out and then they say like, give me your phone, and they rob you. So yeah, roadmen, they're basically people that mug you, I guess. I don't know. Or they're in gangs and they stab each other. It's not a great lifestyle to have, and they scare me, if I'm honest. So, scared of a roadman. Worst British thing starting with S, I put swans. And the reason I put swans is because they're suspicious. They look really pretty and they look great, and then they could break your arm if you get too close. And Bambi always wants to attack them, and I'm like, mate, you are absolutely going to lose this fight if you try and take on a swan. They'll just eat you whole. And then they've got teeth. Terrifying. It's just the most like siren-esque, like, look how stunning and beautiful I am, I'm gonna kill you animal. So I put swans. Worst British thing starting with T is taps. I don't like the 2-tap system. I've heard you. You're gonna kick off again. I don't care. Scream into the void. 2 taps is inefficient and I hate it. It takes too long. I hate cold water, having to wash my hands in cold water. I hate having to wash my hands in scalding water, and I don't have time to fill the basin up. So figure out a mixer tap. I don't love it. Worst British thing starting with U is umbrella. So I put umbrellas just because obviously the weather's so volatile in the UK that you have to take an umbrella everywhere you go, which is annoying in itself. And then also umbrellas will get people in the eye, and I'm absolutely guilty of this because I'm 5'2", so my umbrella height is everyone's eye height. So I'm a little menace on the streets when it's raining. So yes, and then there is nothing more humbling in this world than when it's windy and your umbrella turns inside out. So embarrassing. Just want to die. Just let it go. Just leave the umbrella. Just let it fly away. It belongs to the universe now. Worst British thing starting with V. I've put Victorian infrastructure, and to be honest, it could just not be Victorian. It could just be old infrastructure, but I'm putting Victorian for the gimmick. Basically, I like when I look at real estate, and sometimes I look at these I like to look at big old houses for like £3 million and just be like, wouldn't even take it if I could. But that's a hobby I have. It's fun. But sometimes you see houses that were built before, I guess there was like guidelines and rules and planning permissions. So they're very higgledy-piggledy and things don't make any sense. And there's just like basins. This is Victorian, where they put basins in the bedroom. I think that's a bit creepy and weird. Don't know why. I don't know why. It's literally just plumbing, but it seems weird. It's a bit creepy. Things just not being where you think they are and all that kind of stuff. So just the chaoticness of zero planning permissions of the Victorian age is basically my ick. Worst British thing starting with W, shouldn't be a surprise to anyone if you watch me, is Wetherspoons. I'm sorry, I just don't like it. I know it's cheap, but it tastes it, you know? It's not, to me, Wetherspoons isn't good value for money because it is cheap and it tastes cheap. I want something that is cheap that tastes good. Or something expensive that tastes good. I just feel like I'm wasting money because I'm like, this isn't even enjoyable. A warm beer for £2 is not worth it. Don't like Wetherspoons, I'm so sorry. Deport me now. I'm gonna be honest with you, I had nothing for X and Y, could not think of a single thing. X, I was like X-rays, but like they're kind of important, so they're not a bad thing. Marie Curie, she invented them. Was she British? That was sad for her. And then Y, I was gonna do myself again, once again not British. That's, I can't say Yorkshire, Yorkshire's great. What about Yorkshire Ripper? He was the worst British thing starting with Y. The Yorkshire Ripper. He was like Jack the Ripper, but in Yorkshire and in like the 80s, I think it was. So yeah, bad man. They caught him though, unlike Jack the Ripper. So very good documentary on Netflix if you like murder mystery stuff. Yorkshire Ripper. And then lastly, for Z, I put zoos, just because ethically zoos aren't that great. I know we like to conserve them and keep them safe, but I think also sometimes they're not great. I don't mind like a zoo that's kind of looked after, I guess, like, you know, like Hyde Park Zoo. Is it Hyde Park? No, Regent's Park Zoo, or like one of the bigger ones. But they do safari parks in the UK and they seem a bit weird to me. Like an outdoor zoo. I just think the climate is nowhere near Africa level. I don't know how we're ethically doing that, but so yeah. Hope you enjoyed this video. It's a bit of a mild rant about the current state of the affairs, but I thought it made sense to do a yin and yang of best and worst. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Remember to hit subscribe, and I will see you next time. Thank you again so much for watching.